So I've rented to many tenants for my own properties that they've had kind of bad credit scores, but I got a good vibe about them. I talked to the property manager, the showing agent. They feel good about them. And I said, well, you know what? Let's give it a shot. They're moving for all the right reasons. I like the application. I don't like their credit score. Let's try it. Hello, everyone. Alex Deacon, and today's topic is screening tenants and our finder's fee and what we do for that finder's fee and how we screen our tenants here at Mace Property Management. The first thing we do is we make sure the unit is ready. I know that sounds pretty simple, but we have owners that, show property, want us to show properties that aren't ready. They're dirty. The paint, it's not painted. It doesn't show well. The tenants are in there. The tenants are dirty. The tenants aren't cooperating. It's hard to show properties that aren't ready to be shown. So the tenant has to be cooperating if it's already occupied. And then it has to be ready and clean and presentable. We're not going to show it. And if you want us to show it, we're not the right company for you. What happens when you do show units that are dirty, aren't ready, they're not presentable, and you get someone who really likes the unit that questions, like, is that a good tenant? Number one. Number two, like if they like what I'm saying is if they like that the unit's filthy and it's dirty and they like it, what does that tell you about the tenant? Two, you're going to get a better applicant. You're going to put your best foot forward when you show a unit that's just clean and presentable. You have a better chance at renting it. So why not spend that extra couple days or a week instead of getting it on the market on Tuesday, put it on the market next Tuesday, but get it ready to rent so we can show it in its best condition, get you the highest amount of rent, and hopefully rent it in the quickest amount of time. So unit needs to be ready, not 50% ready, not 80% ready, 100% ready. We start advertising the unit. Where do we advertise? We advertise mostly on the internet. We do get a lot of referrals from other agents. We get referrals from other property managers. We get referrals from tenants, past tenants also. So we do have a nice network of an ability to fill vacancies. We right now are, in our worst years, and it depends on the rental market, we'd be like at 8% vacancy. Right now, we're probably around 2.5 to 3% vacancy, which is very, very good. When I analyze a property and when I'm going to buy it, I'll use between 5 and 10% vacancy for my financials, so I can assess whether I want to buy it or not and whether it makes sense. And it depends on the area and the market. So that's why I'll use a 5 to 10% vacancy rate. It depends on the property. Once we get calls or we get leads from emails or from the internet, then we will screen the tenants. So how do we screen the tenants? This is where it becomes like we could go into 30 minutes or an hour on how to screen a tenant properly. It's not a science, but it is important, and you can make mistakes. And what you're trying to do is eliminate as many of those mistakes as possible, so you don't put a tenant in there that's not supposed to be in there. It's very easy to put a tenant in. It's very hard to get a tenant out. So we want to do our due diligence up front to make sure that we're making the best decision. Showing, how we handle showings is typically the property managers will schedule a couple days during the week. They might be in an evening or a weekend, and they'll give the applicants a time to show up between 5 and 5:30. So for example, if applicants show up at 5:40, we're probably not going to be there. And it happens a lot where we advertise, people say they're going to show up, they're late. We're not going to wait. So that's a good indicator too. If they don't show up and then they complain that you weren't there, well, I was there from 5 to 5:30. I confirmed with everybody and you didn't show up on time. I'm sorry. So a good indicator is can people show up on time? That's a really good indicator, believe it or not, if they're going to be a good tenant or not. If they call an email and they're all angry because you weren't there at 5:40 and they're complaining, that's a really good indicator that I don't want to rent to you anyway. So I'm glad you didn't show up. Reviews okay. So then once the tenant shows up, we give them a link to the website so they can apply. They pay for that application, and then we run their credit score, criminal background check, And we look at certain things like their debt to income, because credit score is a great indicator. I mean, a really good credit score is a really good indicator, but you could have a great credit score and you could have a lot of debt, and your income is not going to be enough to pay the rent. If you have a lot of debt and one thing goes, your car breaks, or you have to take a couple weeks off of work because you're sick, one thing in your life that goes wrong, you're not going to be able to pay the rent. So not just income, but credit score and income are important. You could have a really like a marginal credit score, but make 4 to 5 to 6 times what the rent is. We're probably going to rent to you. If you have a great credit score, but you're only making about 2 times the rent, it's going to be difficult for us. The rule of thumb is 3 times the rent. So your gross income, if it's $3,000, that's gross before taxes. The rule of thumb is we'll rent to you if everything else looks good, up to $1,000 a month rental. And I think that's still running pretty slim and tight. But that's the rule of thumb. That's what we use. The better the credit score, for sure, is going to affect if we rent to you or not. Ultimately, you have the decision to choose whether we rent to the tenant or not. Because I've rented to many tenants for my own properties that they've had kind of bad credit scores, but I got a good vibe about them. I talked to the property manager, the showing agent. They feel good about them. And I said, well, you know what? Let's give it a shot. They're moving for all the right reasons. I like the application. I don't like their credit score. Let's try it. But that's my decision. I'm the owner of the property. So that will be your decision. But like, why are they moving? Where do you work? I work in 40 minutes away. Then why are you moving here? Maybe they, like, for example, they might live close to work 10 minutes. Now they're moving 40 minutes away. Why? Why are you doing that? Give me a reason. Well, my girlfriend, we're going to move in together and she works near there and we want to be, okay, that makes sense. So this is going to be closer to her work and we verified that's where she works and you're okay with traveling a little further. But if it's just, single person and I just want to be 40 minutes away from work now, that doesn't make sense. Why, so you got to look at everything. Okay. But we do that. We do our best to do that. Once our property manager or leasing agent takes the application, then what we do is we review that, kind of underwrite it, and go back to the property manager or leasing agent and say, hey, look, I need some more information here. I need better pay stubs. I need clear pictures of, because they might send a pay stub and you can't even read it. I mean, I need something clear. I need something concise so we can verify that. We can verify that that pay stub shows the same address where you live now. We verify that the landlord who they put on their application is indeed the owner of that property. And there's ways to do that. They might put Bob Smith as the owner, but Jack Jones is the owner. Well, who's Bob Smith? And then you're catching them deceiving you and you're like, we're out, we're done. We're not renting to you. So we verify the best that we can, because like I said at the beginning of this, it's important that you do that because it's easy to put a tenant in, but it's a lot harder to get them out. And that's just the way the laws are today. And yeah, that's why you have to be careful and do your due diligence up front. Once we confirm everything and we go to you and you're cool with it, we're good, we give this tenant a thumbs up, we're not going to hold the apartment until we get a security deposit. But we do collect a certified check. For the reason is they can't bounce the check. So once we get the deposit, we hold the unit. We're no longer showing it. We're no longer marketing it. Then we schedule a time to meet with them to sign the lease. The lease is pretty extensive, so we have to go over it with them. And there's an addendum to the lease, and there's pet addendums, and there's lead paint addendums to the lease, all that stuff. And once we schedule that time, we meet with them. The property manager or leasing agent goes over the lease, gets it signed, verifies they have the utilities on, and verifies that they have renter's insurance in place. They sign the lease. They hand over the first month's rent, again, which the first month's rent has to be certified check or money order. Then after that, their first month's rent, second month, and all the rents after that can be paid by check or electronic funds withdrawal, which a lot of tenants decide to go that route. But it's just the first security deposit and the first month's rent. We require the funds to be a certain way. It's more protection for you and for us. Once we get the lease signed, we hand over the keys. Then they're responsible to get back to us a move-in checklist. So they might, it's a couple pages, and they'll walk through the property and they'll check on, oh, the living room has a mark on the wall and the dishwasher handle's loose. The mailbox is loose. That they'll put as detailed as they want on that list. So they're not charged when they move out, and they're not held liable for any repairs and damage that was already there. That's the move-in checklist. Some of the tenants choose not to fill it out, then we assume that everything's fine and it's on that checklist. Say, if you don't fill this out and get it to us, then everything's fine. And you're agreeing that once you move out, everything will be perfect when you leave. And that's our procedure, kind of in a Reader's Digest short version of screening tenants, showing the apartment, marketing it, so on and so forth. Here's the question I get. How do you guys handle, how do you fill vacancies? I can do a video and you can watch it, and then you might have a couple more questions. At that point, we get on the phone or Zoom call or via email. Also, in this video, it's hopefully helpful to maybe new investors or even seasoned investors who are doing their own process for screening tenants, and maybe they can utilize some of the ideas that we use. And honestly, if you email me, alex@alexdeacon.com, maybe you have some ideas for me, because I've learned from a lot of different people over the years, and we've applied some of their ideas in how we do business. So I'm happy to have some ideas that you can send my way, and maybe we can put them into practice. If I can help you in any way, please email me, alex@alexdeacon.com, and I'm happy to do so. You have a good day. Thank you.